for me, when it's like, hey, I'm going to call you back, and then you don't call back for however many days, and then you call and be like, oh, well, I ain't heard from you. Oh, you told me you were going to call me back.
That's what I applaud
You
about you.
know?
You do that all the time. I'm like,
hey, welcome to the Don't Get Caught Slippin podcast. I am Tay Tay.
And I am Tam.
And this is officially our first episode, officially with this title.
I like that. Official.
Right.
Because we are official.
Right. So, just to give you a little bit, we have been on the works for a podcast for a very long time. So now I feel very, very official with our producer.
Yes, and you heard me do a little exhale like,
right. It feels good.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
So the purpose of this podcast is because we're two sisters, we're blood sisters. We always have different types of conversations.
Yeah, so let's rewind that back a bit.
Okay.
Because people may be like, okay, don't get caught slipping. You just said two sisters, and it's official.
Mm-hmm.
So what made it official, and how is it that we're now, or are you thinking? So what was it before when you were unofficial?
We kept trying and it kept failing. So now, yes, thank you. Please. I mean, the thing of it is that we've had different titles.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone through different avenues and they just weren't working. So maybe that's all about timing, right? God's plan.
Yes, I agree. And then, when you say it just wasn't working, it worked to a certain extent because we did procrastinate.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was more you, but it was me. I had a heavy part in the procrastination.
Well, you have a lot going on.
Yeah.
And you stay adding to your plate. So I think it's, it just was not catching. So we're here and it's official.
Yes.
So that's what I mean by official.
Yes. All right.
So with that, I think just kind of giving who we are as sisters, people will definitely see the difference in our personalities as we go along. But in the short of it, what do you think your personality brings to this podcast?
My personality to the podcast. I think the energy that I give probably during this podcast is more of maybe a different side of outlook that people may not think that I would have.
Mm-hmm.
My energy is probably going to be a little bit unexpected for people that probably know me.
Mm-hmm.
You know me, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You've been around me all your life.
Right.
And most of mine. So they'll probably see a little animation most of the time.
A little drama.
Of course, a little bit of that. And then it's just more of maybe my outlook is, I like to say, or I think my outlook is probably not the norm.
Mm-hmm.
So my perspective is a little bit more, and not controversial, but it will be more like,
okay.
Okay. So they get what you and I have.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll probably get what people that know us may not see all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll probably have that, like I told y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the Tam is cool.
Right.
She really don't show much of emotions and all that other stuff. She just laid back, which, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
I like to observe most of the time and just soak in the energy and, just do my thing internally and have fun at the same time. But
right.
I think you'll get more energy out of this. And, you and I laugh all the time. So they'll get that. They'll see that other side of me as far as the jokes.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think you're spot on with that. I think for me, I'm definitely, as the younger sister, my perspective might be a little more sensitive. I'm always in the, well, what ifs, or just making sure, or, um, kind of thinking on the other side of the coin of, well, maybe it's not that, or maybe it's this, or maybe
Oh.
they were thinking this, or maybe they were thinking that. And then sometimes I can just be harsh about it. It's like, hell no, it's like, so it just depends on what the topic is. But I think I think my personality comes from a little more sensitivity when you're more like, give it to me straight.
Yeah.
Tell me what it is. And I'm like, wait a minute, you can tell me what it is, but I need you to come on some pillows.
Yeah.
Don't come with them hard toes and stuff and you kicking stuff around. Like, I don't need harsh reality or brutally honest. I can't stand the brutally honest. It's like, why do you have to be brutal to give me honest?
Yeah.
So that's my perspective, I think. But anyway.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you little snippets of who we are and our personality, but I think you'll definitely learn that throughout our journey of this podcasting space, because everybody's in it.
Right.
So we're trying to make sure that we bring our sisterly perspective that may be different than the norm. And I think Don't Get Caught Slipping comes from not only our nod to the West Coast, I think, who we are. I know I wear it on my sleeve all the time.
Yeah.
But also because of our life and the things that we've been through, it's always that, whoo, I got caught slipping, but how am I gonna bounce back? So maybe we can give you all a perspective of how to bounce back, because we have all been caught slipping. We've all slept on something or someone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to double back or bounce back or whatever the case may be. So I think that was the origin story, if you will, of
I like that too.
Podcast.
I like that. So hey, we here and we want to give you all a little snippet of our sisterly love with great conversations, and we will speak on all topics, right? It's not just for relationships or only for personal things or whatever. We're going to tap into finances. We're going to tap into daily life, kids, even though our kids are grown adults, but those life hurdles with raising them and now seeing them grow as adults. And, I'll have a lot of stories, and that's what we're all about. We're going to come home and have a good conversation on our daily life, and hopefully you'll enjoy it and have a different perspective of just, hey, we can listen to Tim and Tay. You might hear about 4 or 5 names. Right. For her, because that's what we just, hey, we got 4 or 5 names.
Right.
But, hey, I can listen to them, and, I have no idea what I'm going to hear, but I do know they're going to be honest, straightforward, and then they're going to give us a little bit of some laughs or maybe some cries. Who knows what our day will be, but it's going to be pure.
Right. Genuine, for sure.
Yep.
So, right in the topic, we were having the conversation about dating. And I know everybody touches on dating and this and that, but what we were talking about was the balance of it. Like, how is the dating world for you, maybe, whoever's listening? I find it to be very weird. Like, it's no middle ground. So it's either very heavy on the calls and texts and communication that can feel very overwhelming to me, or it's very ghostly. It's cold. It's like a random text here and there, or hey, I called you yesterday, but I won't hear back from you for like 2 weeks, and it's like, so hey, what you doing? Like, wait a minute. How about we start back from week 2? You know what I mean? Like, I don't even really remember what we talked about the last time, because we have not talked or texted or communicated in some sort of way. It's like, and I guess my frustration is that I'm 45. So you would think, and my favorite thing to say is that if you grew up with the phone connected to your wall, then you have a different perspective of thinking. You should.
Right. You should.
But I don't find that. So where is the balance? Where is the courtship or the consistency and a level of patience too? Because it's like, I don't talk to you. Why I don't talk to you? Blah, 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 blah. It's either that, let me see you today. And it's like, well, damn, how you know what I got on my plate today? You know what I mean? And then if you don't reciprocate on that, it's, oh, well, you ain't really interested.
Yeah.
You playing games, and it's like, well, doggone. But if it's not that, it's very ghostly on the other side. So there's no middle. And it's like, why is that? Why is there no real middle ground when it comes to dating, it seems like today? And that's really my question or my perspective on dating right now. It just seems we're in a weird place. And to me, it's a mixture of drinking the Kool-Aid from the internet and actually being a little old school at the same time from our generation.
Yeah. I of course, there's no answer.
Right. There's
no real answer to this. And it's more to where what you expect it to be and your reality of it all. So it's, I would like it to be to where I know, hey, we all been born we between the 1970s and the 80s here. And these are the people whom I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
So how is it that you have changed your perspective or the way of dating to them 2000s? And it's, well, are you dating them 2000s to where now it's like, is our standards lowering to where the man now is just like, hey, I ain't got to really do much. And I have to do. And I'm sure you hear people talk about it, and we are not the first women that are speaking on this. But gentlemen,
right?
If my thing is if you don't really want to be that personal with someone, are you really not wanting to engage? Come out there with like Superman with it on your chest and just say, hey, how you doing? Okay, X, Y, and Z. I saw you on it, whatever, and I would love to get to know you and all this other stuff. And instead of, and this is, people have been doing this since 1800s, I'm sure, but it would be refreshing for you to just be like, hey, I'm gonna call you back. And if I don't get up back to you though, hey, I'm gonna catch up with you. Or when you do catch up with me 2 weeks later, just don't come and be like, hey girl, like you talked to me yesterday.
Yes.
Just be like, I know it's been 2 weeks and, but I'm just checking in, see how you doing. And hey, maybe we can try to get a little something or hook up in a couple of weeks, but I'm gonna catch up with you. Don't fluff us.
Yes.
And it's like, everybody like to say, I'm a man. Well, be a man and don't fluff nobody and just be like, hey girl, yeah, you know what? I said I was going to call you back yesterday and I didn't call you back, but you know what? My apologies. And how you doing today though? Don't talk to me like you talked to me yesterday. That's just, but women, when you do get that and you don't like it, what you gonna do?
You definitely.
Are you gonna address it? Not address it to where it's like, you punk me. Or you just say, hey, you said you was gonna call me back yesterday and you didn't. So you know what? I'm good, brother. Cause I like for a man to be accountable to what he's talking or doing. And you setting the boundaries. Right. But I think for us, because we want the relationship, and I'm not saying I'm that woman because, hey, I've had my time to where you let it slide a little bit and you're like, oh yeah, you know what, I'm cool. And all this other stuff. And you keep talking. However, you didn't set that boundary.
Right. And I think for me, when it's like, hey, I'm going to call you back, and then you don't call back for however many days, and then you call and be like, oh, well, I ain't heard from you. Oh, well, you told me you were going to call me back.
That's what I applaud. You do that all the time. I'm like, girl.
And and then you get upset when I say, well, you said you was going to call me back. So since you didn't call me back, then I assumed that you were busy. And if that's not the case, then you can answer your own question. Then why you didn't call me back? And the thing about it is, just so, in the short for time, it's when I tell people what I'm looking for, I say I desire consistency. I desired for you to be considerate because that's what I'm going to be. And I tell anybody, I'm not going to BS you. If I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to tell you, best of luck. I don't think that I am the person for you. And it's simple. You can do that early. Don't drag it on.
I agree.
Because that's how people get sensitive and feelings get hurt or things get all confused and whatever. You spend money, because I'm not a fan of men spending their money for no reason. Like, I'm not here to eat up your food or, if you take me out, because that's BS.
Yeah.
We're adults.
Yeah.
You don't do people like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that we should have at this age more consistency and consideration for the next person. Because just because that person isn't your person doesn't mean they're a bad person. They're just not your person.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get caught slipping when you are approaching a woman, or if a man is approaching you and you're not being real and honest, because at that point you've done the damage. So you done got caught slipping. You said you was gonna call back and you didn't, and now 2 months later you want to spin the block talking about what's up, what you doing. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. And you said it. You got caught slipping.
You got caught slipping. So if you doing that, that's likely to happen. And then on the other side, for women, if you're not reciprocating, which is something I honestly had to learn, I was more so like, okay, if you're interested, you're going to pursue. But I also needed to make you feel comfortable in knowing that I appreciate your pursuance.
Yeah.
So keep it coming.
Yeah.
So I'm reciprocating you to continue on with what you're doing. I'm giving you the head nod, like, yes, that's good, versus what I was doing, like, you know what I mean? Like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's see if you are consistent, versus me giving you those little nuggets to give you that pat on the back, like, keep it coming, keep it coming. So that's something I did have to learn. But that was just that's where our conversation was and how we were thinking about the whole dating room. And I know it's time and time again, people talk about it all the time, but I've never heard anyone talk about the balance of dating.
Yeah.
Like, why does the spectrum have to be so wide? And then why is there no middle?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a very weird space. I feel like the young people are getting it right. For the most part, the way I see it, it's like the guys are going back to, hey, I met you at the farmer's market. What's up? Can we go out to eat? Can we go out on a date? Having real relationships or approaching each other. It's our generation that seems a little bitter and resistant and not doing things in a way that we're used to anymore.
Yeah, but you know why? Because they've been dealt with different in a way that they don't like. We've been through the block 500 times, and you get to the point and it's like, well, fudge this and fudge that. I ain't gonna do this no more. I ain't gonna do that no more. I ain't gonna do that. And you get these taught lessons to sometimes it become bitterness. It become this, I'm gonna start shielding my heart and this and this and that, or I'm gonna start treating folks like how they be treating. And then they all mixed and all of this because of experiences to where they lose, or maybe they reforming themselves, but they're reforming themselves to where it's detrimental maybe. And it's like, okay, why are we up in here double dutching? Just go on and you get your little couple of turns and get on in that thing and let's go on and jump it out. But instead, nobody's being real or honest anymore, and they're too busy trying to, I guess, shield themselves to where it's like, well, shoot, brother, if you trying to do X, Y, and Z, come with it. Come with it. And just like you said, like the younger people, we grew up in that era to where we didn't have those phones and all that other stuff. You had to approach me. Yes. You had to literally be like, hey girl, you got to figure out a good little one-liner. Little one-liner to come on up and approach me and say a little something, and I had to be receptive and be like,
yeah, like we were talking about yesterday. It was the "Can I ask you to dance" that really got you in a place that you get your foot in the door.
Man, and then you were at the clubs or wherever you was. We were in that era to where you're dancing. And guess what? While you dancing, you had a whole conversation. Like, hey girl, how you doing? Well, I'm good. How you doing?
You here with your friends?
Yeah, I am. And you getting it all. So, you live around here?
Right.
I do. Not too far from here. Well, you look nice. Thank you,
For those listening, she is doing a smooth dance in her chair.
So do. And you just getting on. So how can I get to know you again? Well, you could probably, I'll give you my number. Okay. And then you break out, you get your little dance moves on. You might give him a little half sideways. He come bring you up closer and stuff. And you like, hey, all right. See you next time. Yeah. And then you got the little piece of paper.
Right. You got
he coming back later on because he ain't slide you the paper then because he ain't had no paper.
Right.
A pen. But he done grabbed it. Y'all done had a little connect. Everything was good. Later on, you done had them. You got the digits. And he walked by, gone. And then you had a little hand connection. And he done slide it to you. And you're like, thank you. I'll call you.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's where the frustration is for, women that are over a certain age. It's like, are you kidding me? We came from this. How did we get distracted by the internet and our phones and things like that? Like that should be for the younger generation, not us. Like that's the frustrating part, I think.
And then the men, to me, back in those days was built tough. They didn't, they're turned down or somebody saying no. It might hit the ego a little bit, but it's like, all right, I'm going to have to get on back into the saddle and get back on it. Now, it just seems like somebody said no to him. That is the end of the world. He ain't saying nothing else to nobody for about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months.
Nobody else get a chance.
You can't be sensitive, Twan.
But the thing, it's something that I would like to ask someone of our generation and somebody who's not family, because I feel like we know them pretty well. But just a random guy, if I could sit down and ask the questions like, okay, if you're single and you're genuinely looking for something, what is your hesitation? What is it that you're doing or not doing for that matter? Or what is it that you feel like you shouldn't have to do anymore? Because I feel like that's another thing too. Like some guys feel, and I'm coming from a woman's perspective, so I hope this doesn't come off as, male bashing, but some guys feel like you said, I shouldn't have to XXX because I've done that already and it didn't work. Or I'm not going to do XX because it happened and it didn't work. And it's like, maybe it's the approach. Or what is it that you're not thinking about that allows you to just hold this wall up and you're not interested in moving forward with, all right, this person said, no, not today, or no, I'm not interested, and I'm gonna move on to the next person, versus you just staying in a rut and now you're like kind of bitter or kind of angry or whatever the case may be. Like, I just don't understand that mindset anymore, especially if you're looking for someone. And then also too, I feel like some gentlemen are, because there's so many options, that they don't have to, or they shouldn't have to, or they got a fall person, or you know what I mean? Like, this may not work out, but I got homegirl over here I can always fall back on just in case things don't work.
Oh, that's another
And
great topic. We're going to have to go on it. Because I'm like, and that's why these women out here be just fighting and putting elbows and don't care nothing about you having somebody else, because we out here just jabbing each other like, I don't like him, but I like her man. And it's like, my man off the market. I don't give a fuck. I like that one right there. No level of respect for the other woman, let alone yourself. But it's like, I want that one right there. And it's a survival of the fittest.
That's the way I feel like it is on the woman's side.
Yeah, that's what I'm speaking of. That's why I was like, another topic. Another topic for another day. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, we navigated, we charted those territories. But I just hope that at some point there's a shift. And I think that we as women have to help cultivate that, because we navigate that life. I think, how I heard a young person say, it's y'all's fault that guys are wearing nail polish right now.
Who?
Guys are wearing nail polish. And I said, well, why do you say it's our fault? And he said, because women are accepting it. So if a woman was like, nah, that ain't cool, a lot of guys wouldn't do it. And I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. Because back in the day, and I hate to, keep showing my age like that, but back in the day, women were like, this is what I think is sexy. This is what I think is a fine guy or whatever. And men fell in line. Like, they had the suits, or they looked good, or even back in the 90s where, your S curl was right and your goatee was trimmed and you wore a certain outfit. Because when women say we like something, that's kind of
But where did that come from? The woman, right? It came from parenting. It came from the parenting. Yeah. It came from even before our generation, or when we were younger, when people were dating. There was a standard, right? Even if you were and you got to think about it. We're going to go into this topic too. In the 70s and the 60s, we were, as a culture, we were, I believe, the percentage of married families were Black people, right? They were in the 60s and the 70s. They was 10 toes down with Black marriages, especially in the 60s and some in the 70s. That you followed this standard, right? The dad was in the house, the mother was in the house, and when it came to the dating, you had to knock on that door. And guess who was answering the door? Most of the daddy was answering the door. So you couldn't even come up in that door unless you was coming correct.
Right. But I still, because that's a whole nother topic as well. I think still what he was trying to say is that in so many words, women kind of run how men think. It's always that, hey, you look nice like that.
I agree. And it's like, but guess what? Back in those days, the daddy wasn't wearing no nail polish. That's what I'm going back. And if he did come through the door with the dude wearing nail polish, the daddy would have been like, oh no, hell no.
Right.
What? But he got on pink nail polish?
But coming through the Jerry curl era, daddy was still in the house somewhat.
Yeah.
There were still some, heavy,
but
full
daddy
families.
Had Jerry curl too, probably.
But he might have, or some didn't. It was like, why are you running around? Because it was a stereotype, especially on the West Coast. It was, if you had the Jerry curl, then you was a gang member and all that good stuff. Yeah. So it was just like, nah, you ain't finna be running around here with that Jerry curl wearing, but the girls still liked it. You still liked it in school, no matter what your parents, how they brought you up. If the girl liked it,
true,
it was still going to go down that way. And that's what he was trying to say. And I fully agree with him. So I think the way that we can cultivate something different is if we start to say, this is what our expectations are, instead of the survival of the fittest of women that's like, I'm going to take some man instead of no man type of thought process. You know what I mean? So it's like women are taking whatever just to be in a relationship versus saying, no, this is not how it should be done. You need to come this way.
But the women are obviously liking the nail polish.
Well, those are the younger women. It was a younger gentleman that I was talking to, but I thought that he made a valid point in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for us, in the topic, it's instead of having this wide spectrum of communication, it's either very heavy and aggressive and too much too soon, in my opinion, or it's very light and feathery and it's random and there's no middle ground of consistency. So my charge for women and men not to get caught slipping is women, say what it is that you're looking for. Tell your expectations up front and not be in fear of, well, if I don't say this or if I don't play this role, then maybe he won't like me or maybe he'll walk away. Well, that's fine.
Yeah. So, you mentioned producer. So I'm just curious, since you're talking about nail polish, I'm stuck on this. So producer, do you see men wearing nail polish?
In society or like
yes, like your generation wearing, other than clear, they're wearing other colors on their fingernails. Men.
Personally, off the top of my head, I couldn't name a person I know, but I know of a lot of people that do. Like Jerry McCain in the NBA and Lil Yachty in the
So, but normal people outside of they are normal, but like people at college.
I've seen some people, in public. Not anyone that I know personally, I don't think.
Would you say something to somebody in your circle that had on nail polish?
No.
It wouldn't make a difference.
It don't do nothing to me.
Would you wear it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Speaking from our young producer.
Yes.
But I just think that it's driving, landing the plane, if you will. I think if we did a better job as women to not settle, especially because, some women thank God has not placed any kind of time clocks on me. But I know other women who have that time clock in their head, like if I'm not married by this time, or woe is me because I'm not married, or I don't have a true relationship, or I don't have kids, or I'm not here, I'm not there, they speed up their process and accept any and everything because they feel like they have a clock and a timeline. And I'm appreciative of not having that for myself because, otherwise I'd be gone crazy. And my thing is it's like, well, shoot, I liked him and he gone. Okay, well, on to the next. I'm going to go to Vegas. You want to go with me because I'm gone.
Yeah. And I think too, like, you say that very well. And another applaud that I have, I've never had a time clock myself, even though I've been married, divorced, and etc. I am currently in a relationship. However, it's more to where it's like, if it does not go to the next level, I'm perfectly fine with not having a next level with this particular individual or not. However, do I have my eyes set on certain things? Of course. Yeah. But will it happen? I'm not sure. But I'm not going to sit here and just be like, it got to happen right now. I need this and I am in my 50s and I'm not, no. Hey, a lot of things for me did not happen as planned and a lot of things did not come to me as quickly as I would like it to have, but it came. And that's where I see my personal life. Like, it'll come. And if it don't, hey, I'm just fine with where I am currently. And I am going to do just like you said. Hey, if I feel like taking a trip, or if I feel like doing X, Y, and Z, or if I feel like this and that, I know how to maneuver and navigate whatever direction it is, and I'm not going to settle.
Right.
Just because I am in my 50s.
Right. Absolutely. And for me, and I know it will be, but if it's okay with you, I think no matter what we have going on, I am the person that is thankful for therapy. And I think a lot of what we have going on right now, a lot of people need it.
Yeah.
Because you can navigate your life by knowing yourself and improving yourself first. then getting out into the world and date or find a relationship, because you will be able to really bounce back when you're okay with yourself when you get caught slipping. Because no matter what we do, I don't care if you're heavy in the church, heavy in therapy, heavy in family communication, and you got the greatest family in the world, if everybody gets caught slipping.
Yep.
And depending on who you are and where you're rooted is going to be how you bounce back.
Yeah.
So
I think with that, when you said, because you said it very well again, getting the therapy is not just for relationships, right? Therapy is for your life, right? What you accepting for everything. That's job, that's with your day-to-day lifestyle, that's with your children, outside of just people. I feel like sometimes people think you need therapy for relationships, and that's just, or with your marriage or something like that. But therapy is all about your internal wellness and getting to know exactly yourself, why you're making decisions on certain things. You may not think it has an impact of how you work or in your career. If you don't internally get that help, it stems all the way down to the bottom of acceptance, and you accepting who you are and knowing your value and worth, period. Period. And if you don't have that, you're losing out. And unfortunately, some of us don't like to have that. But even if you can't get that therapy and you just can't get over the hump of maybe talking to someone else professionally, even though it's needed, because them professionals know how to get something outside of you, boy. Boy, that's why they call them the professionals. However, you still get that internal realization with yourself and stop thinking things are happening because of other things.
Right.
You are the one that's attracting that. You are the one that's accepting that. You are the one that's making those decisions. So you got to start thinking about your internal self and what is it about you that's clocking in that direction, because you got to redirect yourself and you got to reconfigure that clock.
Right.
And it all stems down to childhood, experiences happening maybe in your teenage life, your adult life, or whatever that is. But start realizing that. And I think once you start doing that internal scope, that's when you're going to probably click and be like, I probably need to talk to a professional.
Yeah. And I'm really going to push it with the men. Go.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody. Yeah. You can have all the well-rounded friends in the world, and yes, you can talk to them. But like Tam said, therapists have a way, as an avid, person who goes to therapy. Therapists have a way of just asking you questions and be like, you know what? I never thought of it like that. You know what I mean? And it's bigger than, people say, well, I talk to my pastor, and the pastor has a place in your life that's not a professional. The pastor is a steward.
Yeah.
And they give you the word and they educate you, on your faith and all of those things. They are great people to have in your corner, but they're not a therapist.
Yeah.
So therapists give you, and your friends and your family, you can have the greatest dad and mom in the world, or sister or brother, whomever, and they can shed light because they are that bloodline to you.
Yeah.
And they can tell you right from wrong. But also, your sister or your brother may have the same kinds of trauma from your childhood as you have. So their perspective may be the same. So a therapist is a third party, no weight in your life at all. You can tell them, I hate my sister, but I love her to death. You know what I mean? And not saying that towards you.
No,
but
no
it's
point,
just
no pun intended.
Yeah, not at all. But it's like you are free to say, and you're not hurting anybody's feelings.
No.
You're not worried about it getting back to Sister Mary Catherine, later on, or, Aunt Annie somewhere later down the road. You have this freedom of speaking however you want.
Yeah. And you get into that setting to where you think you're letting it all out and you blaming people or you blah, blah, blah. And they ask those one they're going to ask that one question that's really going, sometimes you just sitting there just venting or whatever, and they just listening. But then it's going to be a point, if you got a good one, they're going to ask you that one question, and it's going to be like, ding.
Right. The light is just going to come on.
That light going to come on, and it's going to show all your dirty drawers. And you're going to be like, oh, shoot.
And your likeliness of getting caught slipping. Once you get into a rhythm of yourself and therapy or whatever it is that you're doing, you will still get caught slipping sometimes.
You're going to get caught slipping, but then you're going to see that red light, that white light going to be like, I don't like her no more.
Right.
Right. She wretched.
Your bounce back is different. Your thought process is different. You recognize things in yourself differently. And you know how to, and I hate to use the overused phrase of your triggers, but it really is, you know what your triggers are. So if someone is coming at you a certain way or treating you a certain way, you've already done the work on yourself. So it's like, ooh, I see that over there. Let me redirect, because I'm not finna get caught slipping over there. I've already learned that lesson. I already know that fire is hot. I'm gonna go over here. So that's just my take on therapy, and I'll probably give it every time at the end of our podcast if I can. But I think this is a great conversation that we can probably continue to have until we're blue in the face. But I'd like to know from anybody who's listening or watching, like, what's your got caught slipping moment in the dating world? Like, where you look back and be like, oh, I tripped out on that. I didn't even do that right. I didn't handle that right. And I got caught slipping because now that person is no longer available, or now that person doesn't like me, or now that person doesn't trust me, and I got to bring that trust back around. So whatever it is. That's just my question.
Oh, that's so good. That's a good question. I think, for me with the get caught slipping, because my relationships have been battles, right? And you go through those, and we all have battled relationships, because if it was right, I would still say, oh, I've been with this person for 45 years. Right? But it hasn't happened. And for me with the get caught slipping, I think, it's really easy to blame the other person. But I've had a part in whatever those are in my relationships that did not work. So it's like me acknowledging the part that, you know what, I had something to do with this. And some of my actions brought some of this, right? Even though it didn't work out. Okay. I got caught slipping. And I think for my last 2 relationships, I will honestly say I have been nothing but myself. Before,
that's awesome.
I was not 100% Tam. So it's like they didn't get the full 100% Tam. So you got whatever that was, and that's why it did not work out, because you didn't get 100% Tam.
Right.
But the last 2, I was 100% me, to where I could clearly say, you know what, hey. You got all this. No fluff, no puff, no nothing. No representative has been around in here for at least 10 years. So, hey, you got what you got. And it just did not with that last one.
Right.
So it's like, currently, hey, this is 100% Tam here. So, you're going to get what you get. Are we here? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm doing the part that I'm supposed to do. So let's do this. So I know now if something doesn't work out, that's because it wasn't meant for us to be this, because I'm 100%
right.
Tam.
And you can settle easy.
Yes.
Knowing that you were yourself.
Yes.
Now, if you did something wrong or whatever the case may be, you just eat
I'm
that.
human, but
right. But
yeah,
if when you're 100% yourself and something doesn't work out, you just
what can you do?
You can't. You let it roll off.
Yeah, you like. I try my best.
On that note, because this girl gonna sing anytime she get a chance. I want to thank our producer for getting us to this point, and I will continue to thank you for that.
Yeah, we got an intern, y'all.
Yes. I don't know what we're going to do when he ain't here no more.
Know either.
But to close us out, any closing words or anything?
No, I think this was a great one. So we do ask you all to just hear us out. You need something to listen to on your way home or while you cooking or everything or anything like in that nature. We got you.
Yeah.
Check us out. Don't Get Caught Slippin.
Right. We do have a IG page, and we'll start to share and post on that as far as social media. We'll definitely have Facebook. Our hopes are to get bigger and better and, have interactions with people.
Yes.
So we'll have more to talk about and more to say, and it's not just us. Like, I want it to be a collaborative effort, not only between myself and Tam, but also with people.
Yep.
To kind of navigate us through. So with that being said, I am Tay Tay.
I am Tam.
And we will see you later.
Peace.